Hi everyone and welcome to Getting Into TV. I'm Tom Dix, an AP in TV, and I love nothing more than talking to people about what they do. So I thought, what better way than to create something that hopefully makes TV more accessible. Each week I'll be talking to different people in both scripted and unscripted. You've got things like Bargain Hunt, you've got Doctor Who, you've got Casualty, you've got the Natural History Unit. There's so many people that I'm speaking to on this series. We've got episodes planned right up into the end of the year, so please, we're not going anywhere. Anyway, this week I'm chatting to Hannah Gosney, who is a production manager in the world of unscripted TV. We're going to be chatting a lot about CV, interview techniques, that first time on the job, very early in your career. So if you're wanting to break into TV, this is the episode for you. We are going to go in depth on the CV, what you can expect from the interviews, and loads more as well, and just chatting and nerding out about the best thing in the world, which is, quite frankly, TV. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Thank you so much, Hannah, for being on the podcast.
I'm excited to talk to you, Tom. I love production management, so hopefully by the end of this, we might be able to persuade a few people to come down that career path because it's great.
It is, it really is, and I think it's really important to highlight what you do because I mean, we both know editorial and production management sometimes get put against one another, and they shouldn't because
Yes.
it's both equal, it's both important.
Yes.
But first of all, I would like to just go back to your childhood, go back to what inspired you to be on TV, to work in TV, should I say. What were the shows that got you interested in TV, and what did you want to do when you were younger? Was it always TV?
I never thought TV would be a career that people could even get into, especially somebody like myself who knew nothing about the industry at all. I had no connections there at all. I'd always watched TV, even from a really, really small child. I would only eat my food if I had a TV program there, a cartoon or something that would entertain me. I still only eat my food on an evening or a morning with watching TV, so nothing much has changed there. But really, I don't suppose there's any major programs really that has kind of inspired me. It was just kind of the love of TV as a whole, and that's always factored into my life. Most evenings, you'll find me on my settee watching TV or a film. It's played such a really big part of my life. I suppose one that I really did like quite early on was Animal Park.
Big
Love
fan of that show. I
that.
would love to work on that one day.
When I did start my career then in production management, I actually got to work with both Kate Humble and Ben Fogle as well. We sent across the Oman Desert on a camel. So I thought, oh my gosh, that's actually my childhood there, where I'm working with these presenters now and sending them on these amazing shoots and getting to work with them.
Did you always know, well, I suppose what inspired you to move into TV then? What was that
Mm,
that switch that you thought, yeah, this is the industry for me? And also, what was it about production management that you thought,
mm.
I want to do that?
Well, for me, as I said, I kind of didn't really even know it was an option growing up. So the changing point for me was actually from GCSE and A levels because I did media studies. And media studies there, we looked at a variety of things, magazines, TV, film, and we learnt all about why things are made they are, film theory, things like that. And I thought this really sparks that interest for me. But I didn't know production management exists, and a lot of people still don't know. I think that's why it's quite underskilled in the industry, is they're often not the ones that are talked about. So I didn't know what area I wanted to go in. I know I wanted to be in the media somehow, but not what area. So tried out lots of different things there, really like the unscripted TV management side of things, but still didn't know about production management because they didn't talk about it at all on the degree, which I do find often still happens to this day on some media degrees.
I would agree to an extent. I mean, and a lot of projects we did at uni, they always focused on four roles. We had sound, we had camera, which was also director, and we also had editor
Mm,
and producer.
yes.
And it was very much the production side of it, the production management side of it was never really spoken about. And it's what it
Yes.
upsets me in a way because it's such a
Yes.
vital part. And without that production
Yeah.
management being able to, I suppose, look over everything and do what
Yeah.
you do, we wouldn't have that
Yeah.
end project.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of that role gets absorbed in the producer's role when you're in university. And I think a lot of people coming into the industry think, oh, well, I should be a producer because they
Yeah,
like that element, when actually it's a separate entity often as
yeah.
production management. So it wasn't actually until I did my very first bit of work experience, which was in the Cardiff company called Boom, which pretty much everybody's worked for Boom or Boom Cymru. It's a little bit of a rite of passage in Cardiff. I remember working with the team there. It was called Free Sports on 4. So we did lots of kind of extreme sports, early Saturday mornings, Sunday mornings. It used to go out. And I remember them assigning me a post-production script to complete. So I had to watch the program in real time, and I had to log everything that was said in the program and what we call the time code, so where that appears in the program. And I remember sitting there thinking, people get paid to watch TV and put paperwork together. I was like, oh my God, I have to work in this particular job role. It just appealed completely to my more organized nature. We do use some creative skills where it might be creative problem solving and helping the team with some solutions to how they could film things. But ultimately, I never had aspirations of director, producer. I'm not very technically minded, so I didn't want to do editor, camera, sound. I probably, would be able to work in a regular office, but I think the day-to-day stuff you're doing there is a lot more boring what you do compared to TV. Ultimately, we're doing similar types of paperwork, but we're making an amazing TV program. And our
Sending Ben
credits.
Fogle out to the desert, like you said.
Exactly.
There's just something, I suppose, magical about it, really. You have mentioned, obviously, working with Kate Humble and Ben Fogle. Do
Yes.
you have any memorable experiences or projects from your
Mm,
career as a production manager? Because I think that's something that would be really interesting. Because, like,
mm,
like I suppose you've said, sometimes people might look at production management and see it as a kind of boring role.
yes.
But it's not. So, yeah,
Mm.
do you have any memorable experiences in that role?
I think it's actually those ones where we've sent people overseas. So I worked for a couple of years on some fantastic programs where we sent people to incredibly remote or hostile environments, both war zones, very hot, very cold places. Those were always such exciting shoots to be part of because especially for very remote areas, you're thinking about the challenges that they present. How are we going to have food and water there? Do they need camping equipment with them? What type of challenges might they encounter when they're there? How can we try and organize all of that? So it's taking those day-to-day skills that you would learn from your UK type of shoots, but really amplifying them and getting you to really think about what do the team need? How can we support
Yeah.
them on location? So those ones I think have probably been some of my favorites. And to go back to Kate Humble and Ben Fogle, they're actually ones that have gone on those type of shoots. And poor Ben fell off a camel in the middle of the Oman Desert. We had to evacuate the whole crew from that
Oh,
shoot,
wow.
bring back to the UK, then get them back out. Kate Humble stranded in Siberia for a day or two and trying to get them back to the area that they needed to get to. Working with tribes that are refusing to carry on filming unless you pay them more money because they think, oh, you've got lots of money, so you need to give us more. I love a challenge and I love to kind of constantly be learning and really supporting the team through all of that. So those type of shoots I think are amazing, and they get so much involvement from the production team because it's that extra levels of organization we need to do.
What's it like when you get that phone call then, when you've been like, oh, someone's fallen off, your lead presenter's
Yeah,
fallen off the horse or whatever.
yeah.
What's it like when you get that phone call? Because I can imagine
Um,
your heart is racing.
but I think that's part of why the production team is so good at what they do, because naturally we're quite calm under pressure. That's one of the skills that you tend to look for people in production teams. And, it is, yes, okay, you might feel a panic building up inside, but we're calm on the exterior and we're just gathering all the information in, assessing what we need to do next, and basically putting the plan in place. So
Yeah.
it's looking at, right now, we need to try and get you to a hospital, or we need to try and rearrange the flights. And, do we have to go back to the broadcaster and say, do we carry on filming? So, yes, they can be challenging, but I think I don't know whether I'm just a glutton for punishment with it because I really like it. And it really appeals to me as having to solve all of those complicated problems.
I love that. I love that you're a glutton for punishment. What would you say then are some of the most like common misconceptions about working in TV production
Mm,
management? Like I said, when I was in uni, it was definitely seen as more of a producer role because that's how the producer would do all the paperwork, the producer would
yeah.
find locations and all that, and
Yes.
you get that mix. So what are the misconceptions about working in TV production management? And how
I
would you address them?
Yeah, I think it is that concept, as we've said, of it being a boring role. That, oh, you're just stuck behind your desk the whole time. You've just got all this paperwork to do. You don't really feel part of the team. It's none of those. It's none of those at all, because production management, especially in unscripted TV, it offers a huge amount of flexibility, because if you actually really wanted to go on shoot all the time, you can pick the productions that are going to be based on location the whole time that are there. So your bigger scale things like the Bake Off, where the whole team stays there for that period of time and you've got an on-site production office. If you, like me, prefer now to be a bit more office based, I've done a lot of shoots over the years, but I don't think my body can take standing up for long periods of time anymore. So you've got that flexibility of going, actually, I'm going to take the type of shoots where we're going to send them to a remote country, but there's only a few people that are going to go. So you would stay back in the production office. But you've got all the different genres that are there as well. So for me personally, that's why I love that over scripted, because scripted is pretty similar day to day. Unscripted, you've got such a wide variety of genres to
I
choose from.
completely agree with you on that, especially
Mm,
even from especially from an editorial point of view. I mean,
mm,
I obviously haven't never come from it from a production management point of view, but from editorial,
yes.
I can agree on the fact that it's so different. I mean, I do a lot of crime watch, so I'm always in that documentary kind of dark world, but sometimes
Yes.
I go over to a dance show and sometimes I go
Yeah.
to a baking show or something, and you're
Yeah.
still using similar skills, but the content's different. And that's what
Mm.
makes it exciting, I suppose, isn't it?
Exactly. And it's exactly the same for production management, because there's slightly different things you do, but the general concept is the same.
It's
Okay.
that thing of, I suppose, you're working as a team and it's not just
Yeah.
you doing one
Yes.
thing that goes into, I suppose, into a spreadsheet and never gets looked
Yeah.
at again for another 10 years.
Yeah.
It's you're all working towards this thing that is going to be
Yeah.
made within the next 9 months. It'll be on TV and people can enjoy it and love it. And it's also that thing that I always get as well. I was inspired by a show called Doctor Who Confidential. Um,
Yeah.
and there's obviously a new version now. And it's that thing of, I suppose, you never know that you might be making something that inspires someone in the future.
Yeah.
That's also an added
Yes.
element to it that I
Yeah.
always find. That's just me.
I think that is what I really like about unscripted production management, is that you are part of that bigger team. As you said right at the start, they can sometimes feel like this divide between editorial and production, but neither can take place without the other. We're
True.
both halves of the same thing, because we have to both be working together. And I say, it's quite a posh phrase that I use, but essentially the production management team, we're facilitating that creative vision against the budgetary constraints, because we've got that set budget, we've got our set schedule, and we're helping to make that best possible program or series within those parameters.
And I think it's also really important, just with what you've mentioned there, it's really
Mm,
important to point out that you're not there to stop people being
no,
creative. You're
no,
there to, like you say, allow people to be creative
yeah,
within the boundaries of what
yes,
you can supply, I suppose. And
yeah,
it's not like you're there to stop people having fun. You want people
oh
to have
yeah,
fun and make the
yeah,
best they can because you also want
yes.
to make the best thing that you can.
Exactly, because our name are on the credits at the end of the
Yeah,
day, and we want to
exactly.
get future work for things. We'd like a recommission of the program or series. Creativity comes in as well, because there's this misconception that you're not creative at all in the role, because you are just doing a lot of paperwork, health and safety, financial side of things. But we are helping you within those budget parameters to go, well, have you thought about maybe filming it this way or using this camera? Or could we look at using archive instead of going out on the shoots? It's all about that problem solving again.
I've just finished my latest series of Crime Watch, and that's one of them
Mm,
productions where we have so little time to do so
mm,
many films, and it really forces you
yes.
to have to think of how the most creative and practical way
Yeah.
of creating an appeal that is going to do some good.
Mm,
And I think that's why I took the leap from drama into unscripted,
yes. Yeah.
because I was finding myself being a lot more creative with the work I
100%.
had, and I just absolutely love it. What would you say is one of the most rewarding aspects then of being a production manager
Mm.
in the TV industry? Because I imagine there's loads.
There are a lot. And as people can probably tell, it is quite a challenging role, but that's why I personally love it. Budgets are very tight generally. That often means that schedules are a lot shorter or a lot tighter overall, less staff than you actually need for things. So you put under quite a lot of pressure. For me personally, that's where I tend to work very closely with the executive producer, so my kind of senior counterpoint in the editorial team, because they're managing the editorial team, so they can then filter down, well, this is how the production team is supporting you. We need to be gelling together as a whole. Production managers should be having that collaboration. You need to be working with your producers, your directors, your series producers, exec producers, to say, look, this is what we've got. What can we do to make things work? You can feed into some of that creative process as well, because you
Mhm.
can be suggesting, well, why don't we change the schedule there and we'll link these together? Or why don't we use this type of camera that has saved us money on productions in the past? The most successful productions are the ones that really collaborate between the senior production team and the senior editorial team.
Completely agree with you. Absolutely, completely agree with you.
Mm,
You just get the best out of people, and I
yeah.
think that's at the heart of everything. I suppose we all do in TV is
Mm,
collaboration.
yeah.
That's just how you get the best out of
Yes.
everything from any single role. What do you wish you knew about TV before working in the
Mm,
industry? Because it's one of them industries that I always find that when you're looking in and you've not ever
mm,
done, you've never worked in it before, it looks very
yes.
glamorous. And not to say it isn't glamorous, but then
No.
you, I suppose when I was younger, I saw it as I'm just going to make this, I'm going to put a camera here, and then it goes on TV, and then
Mm,
that's it.
Future me here, I just wanted to add in a little bit just to make you aware that everything that we're talking about now in regards to freelance contracts, it is in regards to kind of like a normal, regular working year, because we are totally aware that the industry is in a very different place right now, and everything that we might say may not necessarily relate, but hopefully it can help.
It's always a terrifying thing starting in the industry, no matter what role you go in, TV or film, scripted or unscripted, is thinking that everybody's going to expect you to know what to do. And that's not the case. You're in a junior position, you're going to be delegated work, you're going to be able to ask questions. It's so much better to be asking those questions, speaking to your senior team members to find out exactly what you need to be doing. I just wish I'd have known I could ask a lot more questions and feel a lot more comfortable, instead of thinking I need to work, 100% of the time. Take the time to enjoy it a bit more and relax a bit more when
Yeah,
I'm actually
completely.
working in those roles, and not feeling the panic and anxiety of thinking, oh, I need to constantly be showing I'm this amazing person in order to get my next job. Because those next job roles came through anyway. So that's what I think I would have loved to have known.
Even now, I'm still contracted until the 6th of September, so I've still got about 6 months
Right, yeah.
left. But I've already started worrying. I've already started
Oh,
worrying, and
yes.
it's a constant thing,
Yeah,
isn't it? I
yeah,
think it's just
yeah.
something that does go through your whole career. Is you're just
Yes,
constantly worrying about the next job, no matter how long you're
definitely.
there for.
Yeah,
It is tough, but
yes.
hopefully it gets better.
Well, as you say, the worry doesn't go. I think you just get a little bit better at managing it. And for me personally, when I've freelanced, I've been quite lucky through most of my career actually, where I finished on a Friday and started on a Monday for my next job.
Mm.
But even then, that wasn't that brilliant because I never had that rest period to just go, oh, let me
I
take
always
stock, relax a little bit, go to my next role. So I didn't have that clear headspace going into
I'm
it.
completely the same. The longest I've ever had between jobs has been
Mm.
a month. And that's not to say that I've been off for a month and I've enjoyed that month. I'd find that
Oh,
I
yeah,
enjoy the
yeah, you
first
don't.
week, and then the next 3 weeks I'm there panicking because I know I haven't
Yeah,
done work yet. And then
yeah,
the job comes
yeah,
through very last minute. And it is very hard, isn't it, to kind of
yeah,
get yourself in that headspace. But like you
yeah.
say, you end up managing it better.
I mean, I've still had those times, even in the senior roles that I've worked in, where I've been off. The most I've had, I've been quite lucky, is 3 months. I know it's horrendous out there for people in the industry at the moment, so that's not too bad generally. But you start to doubt how you can actually do the job, and you go, can I do the job? Can I? Am I going to be okay when I get in there? And you have those worries when you found that next position, and then you get into that job role, and you go, oh my God, what was I worrying for? Within the first hour, you're like, oh God, yes, of course I know how to do the job again. But it's trying to be kind, it's being kind to yourself and your well-being, and treating it as just taking a bit of time, see if you can slot in. I know finances may not allow, but slot in a little bit of a holiday in between then, whether it's just a week away, because job searching can be a full-time job in
It really
itself.
can.
Yeah, and it can exhaust you just from doing that, and it can feel so demoralizing when you say, right, I'm going to look at the start of every single day, see what jobs are coming up, and there's no new jobs. And you think, oh my God, there's nothing out there. But then the next day could be completely different, and your dream role comes up, you apply for it, and you get it. So it's trying to really just switch your mindset to thinking, this is good time for me now to rest and recover, be refreshed for my next job to come through.
Completely. I mean,
Mm,
talking from my own life on
mm.
my current job, I mean, Crime Watch is one of them shows that you hit the floor running, you don't
Oh,
stop
yes.
the
Yeah.
next 3 months.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've worked on shows similar to that. So
Mm,
you do get that time to look after yourself. And it is really
yeah.
important to look after yourself
Yeah.
in this industry. It's really important to appreciate it because the
Mm.
guarantee that you start the next show and then
Oh,
another
yeah.
4 months of your life will go. I've just finished my 8th series of Crime Watch. I'm like, that's 4 years
Wow.
of my life that I've
Yeah.
just gone like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just got to kind of, I suppose, like you say, take your
Mm.
time and enjoy that time if you can.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
I just want to go on to talk about your company that you've got just very brief,
Yes.
if that's all right.
Yeah.
I know you obviously run media career advice. What is that? How can it help those
Mm.
listening? And talk to me about what you do and what those listening can maybe get from it.
Yeah. So we kind of do two different things. So we focus on training for those wanting to work in production management and unscripted TV predominantly. So as you can probably tell, that's where my passion lies. So I run courses for people wanting to get into production coordinator roles. That also works quite well for those just wanting to transfer into the industry and start in those more junior roles. Production manager course. I've talked a little bit about those overseas shoots that I've done. I do a course that goes through setting up those overseas filming, post-production for production managers. We also run some short courses for screen skills as well on production management. We run bigger programs for them as well. So we're just doing one on production assistants at the moment and getting those into unscripted TV. And then we have some additional trainers that work with us as well. We do management courses, so become a better manager with coaching and mentoring. We have a camera operator who works with us, who goes through sessions on understanding kit for both production and editorial team members. We're launching 2 brand new courses in May. So we've got another course for stepping up to production executive and head of production, so right towards the top level. And we've also got a course on developing formats for unscripted TV as well. So predominantly production management, but we've also got a few other courses coming through. That's our training element that we do. But hence the name of the company, Media Career Advice. We also do career advice sessions as well. And they could be an hour long, an hour and a half, 2 hours long. And they are completely bespoke to whatever the person wants to cover. So could be a CV review, it could be going through cover letters, it could be practicing interviews, it could be general advice. I have a lot of people come to me who might be quite far in their career and say, actually, I want to shift from this area of the industry to another. Can you help with adapting my CV for that or giving me some suggestions? I set it up really because especially with the CVs, interviews, cover letters as a production manager and head of production, you get a lot of CVs through, you conduct a lot of interviews. Gosh, I must have seen thousands of CVs over the years and done lots of it, hundreds and hundreds of interviews, seen lots of very poor quality cover letters. It was really frustrating me because I thought you can just make some quick and easy adaptations here and this would be much, much stronger. Same with interviews is, somebody might have a fantastic CV, but they just don't know how to translate all that information in an effective interview. So that's why I kind of went into that area of things just to help people with that employability. And production management, especially for unscripted TV, there's very few courses out there that are run for those particular areas. So I absolutely love doing it.
Especially now with the state that the industry's in, it's so
Yes.
important that people do get that support and do have an outlet that they can go to, and especially when they're out of work as well, and or in between jobs, doing more to advance yourself is beneficial to not only you but also other productions that you go on and work. It's a really vital thing that you're doing. One thing that you mentioned there that I just want to touch upon is you've looked at countless CVs and cover letters throughout your career.
Yes.
So what would you say you look out for when you're hiring new members of staff?
It's all to do with key skills. And some people get a bit frustrated with key skills because they think, oh, if I'm just listening, I'm organized on there, I'm a good communicator. It just feels a little bit, tick boxy of, oh, if I put them down on my CV. But as somebody who tries to employ lots of people over the years, it saves the employers the job of sifting through your CV to look at, well, can I see that they've demonstrated that they're a good multitasker? Or can I see that they're a good communicator, good at working to deadlines? Those key skills, if you highlight those on a CV and cover letter and interview, so you're doing it in all those steps, that is going to really put you towards the top of that list of people that they're seeing for that role, because you're doing that job for them. It's looking at what the job description says as well. A place that I highly recommend, if there's nothing listed as to what skills they need in a job description, look on the Screen Skills website. Screen Skills have all the job profiles there, scripted, unscripted, all the technical roles. They are all listed there, and they have the key skills.
I've just recently updated my CV, and I was like, what do I do as an assistant producer? And even though I've done the job for however long now, like I was still on the screen sort of thing being like, yes, I do that. I do. I think it was because I knew what I do, but I was looking for the keywords to describe it, if that makes sense. I was looking for the words. I was like, that's what I do.
I'll also look at, well, what is your experience? What job roles have you had in the past? And even if that's outside of the industry, I think it's a barrier where they've done no jobs at all in the industry, or they might be moving between very early stage of their career and they're moving between a different department. Look at what are your previous job roles. So even if you've just worked in retail, hospitality, so many key skills you can pull out specifically for production management. Organization, multitasking, being calm under pressure, they are huge ones that I look for in production management. And we've been running some really big training programs for Screen Skills over the last couple of years for production coordinators and production assistants. And we've taken a lot of people from different industries who have demonstrated those key skills. And, a lot of people from hospitality, admin, events, theatre, huge load of transferable skills there.
You mentioned that production management is so underskilled. What more do you reckon can be done?
It's getting it in at those grassroots. There was that great interview for, I think it was Planet Earth 3. I think that was the one where they actually talked to the production manager or somebody from the production team there. And that is going to the whole of the UK, and people are going, oh, there's people that actually organise this. So it's having that visibility.
Definitely, completely agree. I just want to butt in there just to say that I did actually screen record that, and it's on my Twitter. So I will try that video, and to anyone listening, I will put it down below. And I think it's obviously we've spoken now, but I think it is just really good to see, like you say, that role on national TV. So yeah, if I can find that link, if I can find that tweet that I put out, please do go and watch it. I think it's really vital that you do.
Because I don't know about you, Tom, but my careers advisor in my school, they had no clue at all about any paths into the industry, and it was all this, oh, you're in a local area in South Wales, nobody goes into TV and film, that's not what you do, and they didn't know what to do. It's that education there to get people really going into those career paths and showing it's really attainable.
When I was at school, I loved media. I thought it was an amazing lesson and thing to study. But in my school, it was very much a case of, if you don't go to Oxford, if you don't go to Cambridge, it's a waste of space to us. So I was just an waste of space. They just didn't care. I completely agree with you, though. It just needs that visible. Just touching back on hiring new members of staff, then, can you just talk to me a little bit about the interview process? What's it like? Do you have any tips for people that possibly want to get into production management? Because a lot of the time, whenever I've had an interview, well, I suppose I've never really had a proper TV interview. It's a lot of chat. interviews. The only time
Yes.
I've ever had a proper interview is when I've had to have a BBC Board interview, and they're
Oh,
absolutely
yes.
terrifying.
They are very different, the BBC interviews,
They
aren't they?
absolutely are. So yeah, it'd just be good to hear from you, someone that
Mm.
conducts these interviews.
As you've alluded to, often it is a chat. Anytime anybody says, if you've applied for a job and they say, "Oh, I want to have a chat with you," prepare for that chat. That is an interview. It seems like there's this horror of using, oh, we can't say an interview because that feels too formal, even though it is an interview, because you're interviewing that person about their experience to see if they're suitable for the job role. There's a variety of interviews. I kind of define them by 3 different levels of interview. So the ones can be where essentially you're being talked at for most of the time, and you're trying to look at points where you can go, "Oh, but I've got those skills," and you're trying to jump in and
Yeah.
say without being too interrupting the flow or too eager with that. Then there's the main level, which I think is quite common, where it's a bit of a mix of they'll tell you a lot more about the job role, but they'll also ask you specifics around, production management. Let's say it's production assistant or production secretary, more of an entry level role. It would be things around, can you tell us about how you've booked accommodation before, or travel, or logistical based elements, because that's a lot more focused on that role. Maybe completing things like post-production paperwork. So they'll ask you for a few examples of if you've done it before, so you can allude to that. That's also where you bring in your key skills normally there as well. And then, as you've said, I find those BBC, ITV, Sky, Channel 4, they are much more formal interviews.
They are terrifying.
They are, and you've normally got at least about 3 people interviewing you, so that always feels really awkward anyway, because you're trying to give an answer and you're trying to look to every single person and try and engage them all, and they can be really, really awkward. They're the ones that really probe into what you've done before.
Where's the best place people should go to? Obviously, we've got your company, Media Career Advice, but where's
Yeah.
the best places people should go to um, when wanting to be trained, when wanting to gain more
Mhm.
experience? They might have gone to university, but don't necessarily feel like they've got the skills yet. What should people be
Mm.
doing in order to get
Mm.
into production management? Would you say work experience, and how would they get that?
Yeah, I tell you what can work really well if you, especially for production management, if you've done your degree, or you're trying to enter the industry, you're trying to still keep yourself quite open to job roles. Why don't you look at picking up something like an office temp job? Because you're going to pick up much more of those office skills there, because day to day you're going to be working in the production office.
Mhm.
Less formal than a regular office, but it's the same type of principles of photocopier, emails, phone calls, etc. So take a temp job, because then you've got that on your CV. That's going to help generally for getting those job roles while you're waiting for something to come through in the industry. But it is, as you said, upskilling within that time is really, really important. So yeah, we provide those production management courses and some additional courses. Screen skills. I mean, I've worked with screen skills for 4 years now, but I myself as a freelancer utilize them a lot. I'm often on the training courses myself because I like to be constantly learning myself. So look at the e-learning modules that are there. They've got lots of live short courses as well that you can apply to undertake. Looking at places like Albert for sustainability, because that's a big part of your role in production management as well. If you really want to know the ins and outs of the job role, I'd suggest a course like ours, because we go through the full A to Z, so the very start to the very end of what you would do in that role. But yeah, really looking at how you could be upskilling, even if it's certain hobbies that you might have. Maybe you organize a choir, so you've got that you can be bringing into your CV and helping with getting those initial roles in the industry.
We also wanted to point out that alongside the training providers that Hannah has already mentioned, there are like so many others out in the industry, and we just wanted to mention a few more now. Obviously, you've got Screen Skills, you've got Media Career Advice, and we've also got the National Film and Television School, Mama Youth Project, which I've heard so much about. Actually, Georgina Bob, who I spoke to about production management as well, has previously spoken to me about this. So if you want to learn more about that, go on the website, but also go and listen to that episode as well. Channels for skills is a great one. You've got the BBC Academy, Sky Careers, and ITV Academy as well. All great resources for if you're wanting to get into TV.
All really good advice. Completely, absolutely agree with you. Thank you so much for this chat. I've got one final question
Okay.
for you, and I just want to know really, what have you been enjoying on TV recently? Or maybe
Mm.
if you've been listening to a podcast, what can you recommend to me?
Wow, I don't know about recommendations because as I said, I do watch a lot of TV, but I've got a 20-month-old daughter, so we haven't had a lot of time to watch TV often. An evening normally is trying to get her to go to sleep before 9 o'clock at night. It's a lot of catch-up TV, trying to go through a lot of things like that. I love a lot of documentaries, really random documentaries. My guilty pleasures, things like the Susan Calman and Jane McDonald travel shows on Channel 5. I watch
I
all of
worked on one of the Susan Calman ones. I
Did
did,
you?
yeah, I did Susan Calman's Grand Day
Oh,
Out. I
I've been
drove
catching up on
drove the
all of
van,
those.
and I'm not going to tell you, like, I'm not going to lie,
Yeah.
it was terrifying to drive.
Yeah, it looks terrifying. I
It
did
was
think, oh my
terrifying.
gosh, I can imagine the insurance and the people having to drive that little van. Yeah, so I love those. Taskmaster is one of my favorite comedy type shows. I tend to watch a lot of unscripted TV, but dramas, as I'm sure you've probably had other people say, Mr. Bates versus the Post Office, I thought was so
Very good.
brilliant as a drama because it was great as a drama itself. It was really well shot. It had great actors in the roles, but it was just knowing that all of it was completely real life and everybody had gone through all of that.
It
I
was so
think
infuriating.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I was just like, oh, and the additional documentaries that come off the back of that then as well. That I think that's an interesting concept to have. And you were talking about where you work on true crime type things or crime shows as well. Having a drama of those and then the unscripted documentary of it as well. I think that's an amazing thing to go, well, you've watched the drama. Here's actually the facts of
Here's what
everything that
happened.
happened.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
love all of that kind of stuff. There was a really good one in Wales last year, the Seal Town
Mm.
murders. That was a
Oh
really good one.
yes.
There was a drama and a
Yeah.
documentary about that. But again, yeah, absolutely love all that kind of stuff. Well, thank you so much for chatting to me, Hannah.
No problem
It's
at all. It's
been
been my
great just
pleasure.
talking to you a bit about production management and just like I suppose focusing on the importance of training and CV and
Yeah,
interview techniques because it's one of them things
yeah,
that when you start out in the industry, it's completely terrifying. It's completely terrible. You
100%.
don't know how to approach any of this stuff. I mean, when I first started out in TV, I remember my CV was so bare, and I was just
Yeah,
putting them things on there to try and make it look fuller and
yeah, yeah,
interesting. So I think it's just hearing from you
yeah.
is really beneficial. So yeah, thank you for chatting to me.
It's been my absolute pleasure. Hopefully, we've inspired some people, Tom, to
I hope
go
so.
down that production management route.
I hope so. I absolutely hope so. We need more. We absolutely need more.
Definitely, definitely. Brilliant. Thanks so much, Tom.